Welcome to the EthanLive podcast. It is Wednesday, July the 30th. It is extremely hot everywhere in the world, especially where we're at.
Yeah.
We're so happy to be joined by Chris Hanna and Cole. Folks will remember him from American Humane, but you may follow Chris anyway on a bunch of other cool things that he does. We can't wait to get into all that. But today is International Day of Friendship, National Father-in-Law Day. Here you go for both of you guys. National Support Public Education Day.
Oh, perfect. Okay, that one's a good one.
And right in the middle of summertime. I mean,
Yeah.
perfect time.
Perfect time.
Teachers work all year. Teachers work all year.
That's very true. And
Yeah.
World Snorkeling Day. Chris,
That's
you
a
do
good-
any snorkeling or scuba diving?
I do not. The most adventurous I think we get is kayaking.
Kayaking.
Oh,
Yeah, the kayaking is fun. You take Cole and some of the dogs with you guys kayaking?
Yeah, we have big Hobie kayaks that have like the foot drive with the rudder and
oh wow.
propulsion. So Cole either sits behind me in the seat, or he has like his own raft that ties to my kayak, so I can pedal him around.
Oh my.
That's very cool. Yeah, I went a few summers and took Ethan out on the kayak, and he did really well. But I quickly realized that, and we just had the kayak that you kind of sit on the top.
Mm-hmm.
I quickly realized if he just moved a little bit, like it made it very unsteady. And I thought as soon as he falls into the water, like we have to swim back. Like I can't get him back onto the kayak. We got to swim back.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, kayaking is fun, and hanging around with the dogs in water is always a good time. Let's hit a couple little court updates for some folks that follow along with EthanLive podcasts and different things. The Demetrius Hebert that was threw the puppy against the table and killed the puppy here in Jefferson County. He was indicted by the grand jury Monday, and he has a new arraignment date of August the 4th. What time was that, Debbie?
It's 11:30, and for people to remember, that dog's name is Cash.
Cash.
Just
And Cash did not make it. They had to put Cash down because of his injuries.
Right.
So 11:30, room 302. For the folks that are downtown Louisville, if you want to take a little extra time of your lunch break and come on over to the courthouse, we would appreciate that. Yesterday, we were in McCracken County for David Howery, who is currently facing 19 counts of
felony
torture of an animal, which is a felony, and 12 counts of second-degree animal cruelty. They pushed him back. He has been indicted by the grand jury, but he's now gone through 2 pretrials because apparently in the United States you can have as many as you want.
Yes.
But if we dial back a little bit on David Howery and we go back to 2009.
Correct.
This man had 195 counts of animal cruelty.
Yes.
He was sentenced to serve a year in jail and served 2 months.
Correct. This was in Adair County.
Then in 2021, again in McCracken County.
Right.
He was charged with over 100 counts of second-degree animal cruelty again and served a year in jail.
He only served 60 days of his year.
So that's the guy that we're dealing with, and he is also the one, if you followed along, who is linked. He has charges in other states, and he's linked to some rescues, one up in New York, one on the West Coast, and so he's going to probably face some felony charge or some federal charges also. Yes. And then the guy David Snyder, you folks will remember, he left a dog on the second floor of his house with no food or water to starve to death. The neighbor saw him. He was indicted by the grand jury, and before he could be arraigned, he went on the run. They caught him. He was arraigned, and he has a pretrial on August the 4th also.
Yes.
So that's sort of the court updates. And Chris, I don't know if you know, but we follow along all these court cases in Kentucky. And when I knew we were going to have you on, you're in New Jersey, right?
Yeah.
So as we were going to have you on, I thought, let me check out these New Jersey laws. And so I look at, there's a couple different ways that you can find where they rank states according to animal cruelty or animal welfare. And Kentucky, as everyone knows, is always at the bottom. The latest ranking was 47th. But I see that New Jersey is, what I could see was always ranked around 12th, 13th, or 14th. And everything I pull up and read says New Jersey has some of the strongest animal cruelty laws in the country. So, Chris, do you guys see on social media up in that area, like in your local sort of social media or on the news, do you guys see a lot of like animal cruelty things pop up?
I can't say a lot. The ones that we do are significant. However, we might be like 12th or 13th, but it's still, I get infuriated with the things that are happening even in our own county. I'm in very southern New Jersey, in Cumberland County, and about a year ago, and then it happened again about a month and a half ago, only 7.5 miles straight down my road, there was a huge dogfighting ring.
In New Jersey.
It was federally broken up. He had already done prison time for distribution of narcotics and something else. And then, like, out of the blue, like, every highway, every side road was literally black SUVs that are tinted out with lights on. It was DEA, it was FBI, local and state authorities, and they just raided the compound. There were over 100 dogs seized. They had, I can't even remember how many dead, buried pit bulls that were on their property. Rumor has it that there was actually an alligator on the premises that they probably fed the corpses to, so they can't track them. The worst part of that entire process was he was out on the streets within 48 hours.
Yeah.
And he never, the hearings haven't happened. He never did time for it because they're more concerned about the drug aspect of it. And then about 6 months ago, or about a month and a half ago, all of a sudden he was raided again. And this time it was completely drug related. So his kennels had been shut down. I think it was like 4 or 5 years ago, and he was forbidden to have any kind of kennel business, whatever. Obviously, yeah, when you go past his, and of course, me being me, and my vehicle's got a giant pit bull head on the side of it, is fully wrapped, and everybody knows who we are around here. Yeah, so I had to make my presence. I had to make my presence known.
Yeah.
And I went driving down, and by then everybody was gone. Because it was right at the end of the school year. So by the time the authorities had left, but it's still disturbing to me that that man was ever let out. And
exactly,
we face that. We face the end results of people like Mike Vick on a daily basis. We have to fight that stereotype because of these. I hate to even say this on a broadcast like this, but these idiots, we're all about positivity, but I would like to say many stronger words, but I'll refrain. But we have to deal with the consequences and the backlash on literally a daily basis, and I'm sure we'll get into some of that. The nonsense that we have to deal with as a team of pit bulls with disabilities, for goodness sakes. Right. So.
Do you know, Chris, is animal cruelty a felony in New Jersey?
There's legislation on the board to make it stronger.
Okay.
We're kind of working now on, if his trial ever goes, we want to start. There's a lot of congressmen, senators in our area.
Right.
They love their photo shoots with Cole because of his social media presence and stuff. So I think when we're very strategic about when we're going to speak up, like the day that all happened, like I was ready to make a statement and record it. And I'm like, you know what? I got to step back. I want to be factual. I want to be 100% positive of everything. I don't want to be reactive like everybody else.
Yeah.
That you see on social media, because then people don't listen to you anyway. So, we're getting our ducks in a row. We really want to use our presence and our leverage, on our platforms to make change, and it's crazy. And, to see, and we'll talk about my students and the stuff we do in school, I'm sure, but, to see my students who read these stories and know this stuff is happening in our towns, but to know that they are infuriated by it is everything, because they're going to be the ones that make the
changes. Exactly.
So we're on a positive direction, and law enforcement is very much on our side. So we are. It's going to happen. It's going to change.
Yeah. And it's frustrating when you to have an entity, and I don't want to rag on them. It's not going to become an NFL bashing thing, but when you have an entity that's as popular as the NFL, and you have something like that happen, to at any point to allow that guy back into, whatever you're doing as an entity, and I know he does some stuff for the NFL, is ridiculous, because as you said, kids see that kind of thing, they know that kind of thing, and to see him be able to step back into, he's too old to play now, but to step back into the same profession or the same organization that made him famous is just ridiculous. And my wife comes in, and if there's an NFL game on, she wants to turn the channel anyway. She's always talking about going to the NFL headquarters and protesting them. So, but that's bad. And I totally respect where you're coming from, because as we have gone through Kentucky, we've been asked by so many different organizations, hey, come to this thing and speak for this, or come to this thing and speak for this. And I think it's very important to be separated from that kind of thing and take a step back, like you said, get all the information, and when it's time for you to make a statement, then it makes more of an impact. And you've got all the facts, and it creates
that one statement can literally change so many things, but 20 little statements are going to go nowhere. And that's kind of, we live in a world where everybody's reactionary, especially on social media.
Very.
So it's you have to. We've learned that you have to just be very, very strategic about what you're going to do. And for us, we're trying to make change in a different angle, starting with the youth and their families. But it seems like around New Jersey, and unfortunately so much of the country, these animals are just looked at as property.
Oh, definitely. We've had in Kentucky for sure.
If somebody came by, and like, we ended up installing cameras on both ends of our house, because in our area there was a whole string of dog theft last year.
Oh.
And these people get caught, and literally get a slap on the wrist, they get a misdemeanor fine of theft, because the dogs are property. So it's like, well, how much is the dog worth? Well, I'm pretty sure my dogs are irreplaceable and priceless. So
exactly,
we have to change that end of it, and it really feels like they're working towards it. But then again, how politics are. It's all about show, and it's all about they'll ride the wave with you when
it's good. Yeah,
when it's good, and then
when it's re-election time, and they've got some voters that are it is it's a mindset, in Kentucky, and there's so many rural and suburban that it's a mindset of not only is this dog or this animal my property, but you can't tell me what to do with my property. And so that's some of the things that we have fought as we've gone, not only to try to get this felony law passed, but to get it prosecuted, is slowly but surely you've got to change a mindset of, and I make this example all the time, is my car is my property, and I can go out and beat the crap out of my car with my baseball bat, and that's not a crime. But if I do it to an animal, that should be a crime. And that mindset right there. So I'm kind of like with people, if you want to come to me and talk to me about your dog being your property, I'll have that discussion with you, as long as you can make the distinction between uh, an
Living
inanimate object and your pets.
and a living, yes.
So let's move on to some fun things. And so we got a lot of very cool things to talk about with you guys and Cole. But first, I want to get to tell us a little bit about your background before Cole. Like, where was your life? What were you headed to? And tell us about before Cole, and then we can kind of juxtapose that with how everything is completely changed now.
Yeah.
It's funny because I always speak with the terms BC.
BC.
Oh.
There's AD, there's BC, and for me, it's BC before Cole.
That works.
Yeah, but before Cole, I'd been an elementary school teacher for, I think, 16 years. I love what I do. I've wanted to be a music teacher since I was 8 years old. I had a niece that when I was in my early 20s, my niece was born with Down syndrome. So special needs became a very big part of my life, not just as an uncle, but as an educator. Then she had a little brother that was born without hearing. So like my life was on like a different path. It was I was playing in bands, and not on the road, but like, doing clubs and stuff, and Atlantic City and stuff like that, and Philly, and I loved it. Don't get me wrong, but then it all, like, everything about the way that I teach, it just all changed. Ace, I guess you could say BC and AC after Cole. So.
Yeah, there you go.
Or during DC during Cole. So.
Right. So what made you go? How did you get to the shelter? Like, what made you look up online and see the shelter, or what made you go to the shelter? Were you looking to adopt a dog, or how did you get to right in front of him?
Yeah.
So I had a pug who was older. I ended up kind of getting her. She was a rescue. She was pretty much my first dog. So she was my little love bug. But then I was kind of at a period in my life where I was just like, you know what? I want that joy in my life. I want that special, that special time with a dog.
A bond.
So I went to the local shelter's website, and literally the first dog that was under adoptable dogs was Harry Potter. And it said the words, and I still have the photo. It said the words special needs next to his name. So immediately, like, I was just, whoa. And I remember where I was sitting. I was sitting in the library at school with my friend at lunchtime, and I clicked on it. And then Nikki, who is now my wife, I remember texting her a picture of Harry Potter, and it was this, pit bull mix with these ridiculously huge ears. And you have to click on it to read the fact that he was deaf, and I'm like, whoa, like I never even would have thought about a dog that was deaf. So it was when I had some friends at the shelter that are volunteers, so I heard them filled out an application, made sure that they received it. And I think that was the next day I talked to my principal, and I was like, can I leave a few minutes early so I can go meet this little puppy? And she's a huge animal rescue advocate. She's a pit bull advocate. Actually, her dogs are the first pitties I ever met. So she was like, absolutely, just make sure you come back and tell me what happens. And I want to see pictures. So I'm like, rock on. So we went in there. They're like, I said, I'm here to see Harry Potter. And they sent us to the waiting room. They had so many families that would come visit this little puppy, but nobody would adopt him just because, the fact he was born without ears. Whereas some of the kids that I met this weekend said his ears are permanently clogged. I was like, well, that's a good way to do that. So they opened up the waiting room door, and he ran in this dangly, goofy run and hop that he does. Just leapt into my arms, and my wife captured the photo, and it was just meant to be. He just stared. We just literally stared at each other. And for a dog to stop what he's doing, especially at the time, he was probably about 4.5, going on 5 months old. And he just stopped and froze and stared at me.
No.
And we just shared this moment. And I'm like, wow. And then he ran over and peed in the corner. But that's beside the point. So, it was kind of like right then and there. And I was like, holy cow.
He's your dog.
He's gonna and Nikki looked at me and like, she just always says, she's like, that smile on your face is irreplaceable. She's, it'll never be replicated in the same way. So, but then the interesting part when we left was there was a man there with his family, waiting to meet Harry Potter, and they wouldn't. He actually asked me. He was there very reluctantly, I could tell, and he asked me why I would want to adopt a broken dog, and that has stuck with me, and that's literally the fuel behind every bit of this. Because when I met this puppy, I was channeling my niece. My niece passed away when she was only 12 from complications with her heart from Down syndrome. But I immediately channeled my nephew and my niece. I'm like, they're not broken. My nephew was an incredible artist. He's a straight A student. He just graduated high school with honors. And it's like, if he's going to say that about a puppy, what's he going to say about an adult,
a human
kid? Right. So it's that was literally the moment that my entire life changed.
You two have that in common for sure. You both knew that dog was yours when you saw it. So.
For sure, yeah. So you adopt Harry Potter. Was there any, and you rename him Cole? Was there anything specific with the name? Why was there a reason why you named him Cole?
So when I was in college, just getting ready to go to college, there was a movie with Richard Dreyfuss called Mr. Holland's Opus.
Yeah.
And Mr. Holland's Opus is about a music teacher.
Yes.
Who was a very well-loved educator. His story, he was an active musician. I was an active musician. And his story it was so inspirational to me going into music school, it was such a trying time in my life. So that movie has always meant something very special to me. So it's about a music teacher who ends up having a son that is born deaf. And his son's name is Cole, after John Cole.
Oh.
So it was 100% like the perfect. Like I sat there and I was like, I'm thinking of all these names, and I'm like, wait, it's Cole. It's Cole. Oh. It's Mr. Holland's Opus. Like, I am Mr. Holland. Like, this is, So would you settle down, Cece?
That's a great story, Chris.
So that's kind of how that
happened,
came about. Yeah, and like I talked to my students about it, and they all voted, and it was unanimous. So every now and again, somebody gets the reference on
right.
That's very. Anytime there's something about me as a music teacher.
Yeah.
That is very cool. I didn't know that story. That's very cool.
No,
so you adopt Cole, Harry Potter, rename him Cole, and so you think, okay, now I've got this dog. I'm going to rescue and adopt this dog and have a certain kind of life. You're thinking. At what point did you realize, wait a minute, like there's something more to this? I can make a much bigger impact, and I can do more with this dog and this story.
Mm-hmm.
By the time I had signed the paperwork and actually picked him up, I believe it was 10 days. And there was a little bit of spring break in there. But I remember the next day I came back and I put a picture of Harry Potter and I on my smart board. And I have about 550 students. So I see, being a music teacher, I see every student. So they started rolling into class, and immediately the first thing they see is this puppy. And they're like, what is, and then I was like, yeah, this is going to be my new best friend. His name is going to be Cole. And he was born with a disability. He was born deaf. And all of a sudden, like 20 little hands go up, and they're like, what does disability mean? What does it mean to be deaf? Why wouldn't somebody adopt it? And it just turned into these incredible conversations that as a teacher, you live for.
It's a teachable moment.
So,
yeah.
Perfect. Right. So like, I noticed the way he was impacting these kids from like, and they hadn't even met him yet. I hadn't brought him home yet. So when I picked him up, the first place we went was school, because I had to leave work early again with the contingency that my boss said, you have to bring him here before you go anywhere. And I was like, okay. So we walked in the waiting room in the lobby at school, and it was full of staff members who were so excited to meet this puppy. So he became an integral part. And then the following years when things really changed, because I wrote a comic book to raise money for our shelter. and all the proceeds were going to our Dog of the Year campaign, which is like a local contest. So my students and I had this idea of writing a book about my deaf nephew and my deaf dog as superheroes. But the kids helped me write it, and we spent about 3 weeks on it. Every single class, they would roll in and their ideas, and we brainstorm and we jot it down and edit and all this stuff. But then a local newspaper picked it up, and then it was on the cover of the local newspaper. But then within like 3 days, it went national. And Cole wasn't a therapy dog yet, and it was just like, holy cow. So he, that's when we knew something was going to be a little bit different about him. And then we got invited to speak at a school. They reached out from the newspaper article through the reporter, and they said, would you be interested in coming to speak to our students? We have a young boy who is the same age as 9 years old, the same age as my nephew, just got cochlear implants, just like my nephew. And he's feeling really bad about himself. And he can't feel accepted. And he just doesn't feel good about who he is. And he's kind of shutting down. They said, well, we think that you could be a huge way to bridge that gap for him. So we walked into that day, and we walked into the vestibule, and there was a giant poster that said, welcome, Cole the Deaf Dog. And as we're walking through the hallways, there's pictures of the kids have drawn hundreds of these photos going down the hallway. And then we walked in and we set up our equipment and our speakers, and he had never done this before. I had never done this before. I know what I'm going to talk about, but I didn't know where I was going with it. And then the students start coming in, and I noticed the students are all wearing green shirts. I'm like, this is interesting. Every kid's wearing a green shirt.
Green shirts.
And then I realized that every kid is wearing a green shirt, and it says Cole the Deaf Dog hears with his heart. And the whole school Cole t-shirts on. So we did our presentation. We spent the rest of the day with that class, but they invited the young boy's family, his grandmother, his parents, his sister. And then I'll never forget the hug at the end of that. And my wife and I sat in the car after we loaded him up, and we had to decompress for a minute. And I looked at her and said, we have something here. There's something different here. Look at what the barriers he broke with these kids in just a matter of a couple minutes. So 2 weeks later, we get invited to another school, and one of the teachers there actually works with this boy on a tutoring basis. And she said that you have literally changed his world. He is a completely different child now. And it's amazing to see that he is back to what he always was before. That solidified it. And then it just kind of kept spiraling from there, and visiting more schools and more places. And, we knew him as a therapy dog was going to be an absolute amazing choice, because he has just this way about him with children. And it was it was so cool. Even as a young puppy, he did an assembly with me at school right after I adopted him, because the shelter was doing a program at my school. And he never lost focus on me. And there's 600 kids screaming because they finally got to see little Harry Potter. And he's just this tiny little dude. And the picture is incredible, because he's literally sitting in front of me just staring at me while I'm talking. So I knew that. But that first school that we visited was that I really knew. There's something different happening here. So,
well, and kudos to you for, you go and adopt this dog, and you think, I'm just bringing this little dog in, from the shelter. It's going to be part of our family. For not only realizing that it could make a difference, but then taking the extra step to really put the time in to really put him out there. You're really changing people's lives and kids' lives and their minds on what they're looking at. It's really, really pretty cool.
Yeah, it's very good.
Thank you. Yeah, it's it's exhausting, but there's a moment every single time. Like just yesterday, we were visiting a facility, and it was, there's some special moments that happen with a kid, and it's like, this is why we do it.
Oh yeah.
And it recharges the batteries.
Right. Yeah. Right. It's almost, there's a couple little things in like Ethan's story, but like what you're saying is you see the change in like one kid, and you think like in your mind, you think, maybe I could be doing everything I'm doing just for you, just to make a change just in your life. And you just see, a mindset change and eyes open up, and to teach kids, at that age, that it's okay, and that there's nothing wrong with those, either animals, pets, or people, is really pretty cool. And so you start the whole Cold to Deaf Dog uh, foundation. And so tell us all sort of what you're doing now. Like, you take, Cole goes to school every day with you. And so tell us about, like, on a daily basis, he impacts and influences those kids every day.
So Cole has been our school therapy dog. It's kind of a funny story. When he got certified, he started in September of 2018 with his certification. So the plan with my administration was Cole was going to come to school like 1 or 2 days a week, and then, just as periodic visits. And it lasted the first day of school. And he's been coming every day for the last 7 years. Because the first day of school is a very trying time for children. I teach in a very low-income area, a lot of challenging students and families. But the first time in my entire career, Cole was out by the buses. He was in the hallway. He was the first thing that these kids saw when they came off the bus. And there was no crying. There was no tears.
Wow.
And everybody in the building noticed it. And they said, this dog has completely changed the environment of our school. And it's the first day. So they were like, he's coming tomorrow and every day after, right? And I was like, okay, yes, okay, I've accepted this fact. So, he's literally there. He goes to the bus door. So when the kids loop around and they get off the bus, he is literally waiting at the bus. So he's the first thing that they pet when they come in. He's at the bus door when he's leaving. He's roaming the building with me during lunch. He's on the playground, so but it was crazy. Like during COVID, the way that Cole actually held our school together, and we would do our drive visits and we do our virtual story time every morning. And it held our school community together in a really special way. So a few years ago, we decided to start the Cole the Deaf Dog and Friends Foundation, where we support dogs with disability rescue, but it's more geared towards supporting our programs for us to be able to travel and reach so many students. We just hit, so the way we keep track of how many students we've reached is we do trading cards, and every student that we meet receives a Cole trading card when they meet Cole, and we just hit the 50,000th trading card.
Oh,
so
wow.
Like, that's incredible, that 50,000 school students. Now that doesn't count the veterans, that doesn't count everybody else, but we're buying these cards at 5,000 at a time, and it's crazy. So we started the foundation. We do special education scholarships for kids graduating with special needs, because there's just no scholarship programs for kids like that, and there should be. We do a lot of work with our local veterans community. He's the mascot of the Jersey Veterans Memorial Home. So we sponsor a lot of activities with them and stuff. So the foundation was just the right move to really solidify our mission. So since then, our team has grown. We have Cece, who is down in Tennessee. She was born deaf. She's a pity mix too. She's a therapy dog that gives Cole a day off every now and again.
Oh.
We have Alice, who came to us from Citrus County, Florida. She has a cleft palate, was born with one eye, and is deaf. She's our sassy, spunky little girl.
Oh.
And then the guy in the middle there is our new little guy. He's got a big night tonight. He takes his therapy certification tonight.
Oh, nice.
And he is deaf and blind. And was born with dwarfism. So he is a super tiny little guy. He has a tiny little body and a big head, and he is the cutest we call him a little nugget. But his world, thank God he ended up with the rescue that he did, because he would never have made it at a shelter environment. The people who rescued Alice for us, reached out and they had him, and we knew that we wanted another dog for Cole, another male. So while Cole was young enough to really kind of groom the pup and do what Cole just does,
right?
We weren't expecting it yet. We were thinking a couple more years, but then Sullivan appeared, and he amazes us on every single day. So he's on a path to really inspire kids at a whole different level. Each dog kind of inspires kids differently.
Has their own, touches different lives.
Yeah, like they're all so intelligent in their own ways. Alice with the cleft palate, I have students with cleft palates, and they are like hitched to Alice's side. Like that is Alice's life, you know. But nothing is like a kid's relationship with this big guy. Like it's just awesome to watch.
Right. Yeah. But they're all beautiful. None of them are broken. They're beautiful.
Yep, they're perfect just the way that they are.
They are.
Yeah, it's really, really cool. And so, a few years back, we meet through the American Humane Hero Dog Awards. How did I like to ask we try to have a bunch of hero dog on. How did you hear about the Hero Dog Awards and get involved, and tell us about like that experience? Because it was I think it was one of the years that they had a whole lot of voting, probably too much voting. It went on and on and on. So tell us about how you heard about that, and then sort of what you thought of the experience going through with the hero dogs.
We had heard about it when we first started, and Cole was doing that Dog of the Year contest at the shelter. My sister-in-law, I believe, sent me a link on a Facebook page called Aladdin's Nation. And it was a little brown pit bull who was born with like very severe hip dysplasia and was an abuse victim and stuff. And it kind of like made me really fall in love with that whole the whole idea and the whole love of owning a pit bull. And Aladdin was, I think, the 2017 therapy hero dog.
Yeah.
So he's actually he was fairly local. He's since passed away, but he's fairly local. So I kind of saw that and I was like, wow, that'd be an incredible goal. And it was, 4 years later, and I was like, you know what, let's go for it. And we signed him up, and then we actually signed him up the year before, and we didn't make it. Boone ended up the therapy dog. He ended up the overall hero dog too. But we were like, you know what, Cole's destined for incredible things. Let's do it. Let's do it again. And the voting was, it was a long season.
Yes.
Like, I'm not going to lie. Like, that was so stressful.
Mildly, huh?
Like, it was, I'm not going to lie. Like, it was too much.
Yeah.
It was such a long, drawn out process, but
it was.
I'll never forget when I got the email. I was visiting my father. Cole was with me, and we had just left a special needs school in our area. And I had and it was, still like leftover stuff of the pandemic. So our visit was outside on a baseball field with all these kids, and there were deaf children, there were kids with all kinds of different disabilities. And I remember it was one of those visits with a program that sticks with you, and you remember those monumental moments. And I remember like the way that these students, and there were dozens and dozens and dozens of them, the way that they just grasped on Cole. And I left there and I'm like, my heart is so full. And I was like, I'm going to go visit and see my dad for a little while. So I drove up and I'm chilling at his apartment, and I get an email, and it was the Hero Dog Awards. And they said, keep your mouth shut. But
shut, right.
You were selected as the hero therapy dog.
Yeah.
So that was really I remember like literally jumping up for joy, and then I came home and I called my wife, and I remember there's a video, and I'm actually right where I'm at now, and I signed to Cole that he won. He's a hero.
Oh.
And he like his ears pinned back and his face gets so big, and like I pick him up and he just starts kissing me. I'm like, I swear he understands everything I just said. you know, because he saw my excitement, and it was just like so cool.
He knew something good had happened. Yeah.
Yeah, and like, you know, and then like the process leading up to it, and like the way that my students made giant posters, and I had the letters HERO, and every student signed their name as it going away. Like and then my students all, like, I think we used like 400 kids. They got a lift to the top of the gymnasium ceiling
to put it up.
To shoot the picture down, and all the kids arranged themselves in the word hero. And Cole
I think I remember seeing that. That was very cool.
So that was really cool. And then that was kind of the send off. And then, you know, the incredible experience. Of course, we had Hurricane Nicole. Of course, my newlywed wife's name is Nicole. So I'm like, oh great, you know, we've been married for 3 months at this point, and like, you're gonna bring a hurricane with you. You know, so
that hurricane keeps coming up in our conversations, doesn't it?
You know, and it kind of it put a damper on a few of the events that we had going on for the week. But you know what? It was actually kind of cool, because then we got to sit down and, like, you know, we'd sit in the lobby for hours.
And we had the you know, they had canceled something, and we went up to one of the rooms. I think they were even gonna do like a dinner the night before, but you know, none of us sort of knew what was happening the next day for the gala, and so we got together in a room with just Robin and some folks from the American Humane, just so they could sort of tell us what was going on because of what the hurricane was doing. And I remember I love this picture, and I took this picture of you guys there when we were up in the room, just getting all the information from what was going to happen the next night. But I did want to, one of the very cool things I think that American Humane does is they make some really special videos that are really cool as keepsakes, and they really help portray the story. And so let's play.
I visited my local shelter's website, and the first puppy that I had noticed had 2 words next to it: special needs. And it so happens he was born deaf. And at the time, my nephew was 9 years old, who was also born deaf. So I knew this was a puppy that I absolutely had to meet. I'm leaving the room for meeting him, and so excited about adopting this new deaf puppy in my life. A man asked me why I would want to adopt a broken dog. And it just set forth this fire underneath me. So once he got his therapy certification, I approached my administration and I said, how would you guys like to have Cole visit maybe like 1 day a week? He can hang out with me in the music room since I see all the students. And he came, he visited the first day of school, and the first day of school is a very emotional time for children. That year there were no crying children as they came off the bus for the first day of school. That 1 day a week turned into the last 5 years, 5 days a week, and Cole has not missed a day of school. But what it's doing is it's putting students' barriers and walls down. We're learning through Cole's life story about not judging something by its cover. He's enlightening students to really just put themselves out there and be who they are and enjoy who they are. I'm speaking for the thousands upon thousands of children we've been blessed enough to work with, not just in school every day, but in the school programs, the special needs, the Special Olympics students that we go and we meet with, our veterans, our hospice patients, the inspiration they are finding behind his story, showing people that you can believe in heroes. Heroes really do exist. This little deaf shelter dog that man called Broken on my way out literally changed my life path. He changed the way that I have an outlook on life. I get to wake up next to this face every single day. It's literally a dream come true.
No, how cool is that?
That's so
the funniest part is the day of the taping, they were like, you know, can we take Cole out to like the dog park area and all the weave poles and all this kind of stuff? I'm like, yeah, I don't know what you're gonna get because he's a house hippo. So he, you know, and he had to get up so early, and he's like exhausted because it was the day after we arrived, you know, so it was like a lot of travel and stuff. He was such a ham. Like that, the videographer came over with the camera, and he just turned it on. He was doing weave pulls. He was doing everything, and I'm like, you are so funny.
Oh.
You just turned it on, and I'm like, there you go. So
what I remember about that was, I think we had met you guys the night before out on the street, and then the next day we're going to the sanctuary to film these videos, and we were going to go in different ways, and it was just okay. Put these 4 dogs on this van at the same time that I've never met, and I'm like, okay, is this going to go okay? And so we go out there to this beautiful sanctuary. And it was a little bit like, it sounds like Cole did much better than we did, because they came up to me and said, "Will Ethan go through these poles?" And I said, "Nope." And they said, "Will he go through this thing?" And I said, "Nope." And I said, "You're like, we'll bring him out here, and you just get what you get."
Yeah.
That was. I remember that limo ride, because I remember that's when I met Bobby and Recon for the first time. I remember, it was so like stressful, because you're wedged in this like little like van, and even though they're working dogs, it's still like these dogs have never met each other. Like,
right.
I know he's fine around dogs, but he still gets, it's still a dog. He still gets nervous in new environments. So we got there, and like they were all perfectly fine together, and then we're on the living room because it was so hot. I remember we were there super early, and you guys came in later.
Yeah, you guys got there early.
The vans were so far behind getting us back.
Goodness, look at him.
He just passed out. He's like, I am exhausted right now. Like, Dad, we had to be up at like 6 o'clock.
Right. Yeah.
And then I remember. I like this picture, and it's not because it's a good picture, but the day after the gala, we go back to the sanctuary, and it was just sort of a going away. And I think the board members from American Humane were there, and the buses got stuck and we had to take cars out to a gas station to catch the bus, and that was us waiting for a new bus to come.
And it was so hot. Oh my
gosh, yeah.
It was awful. And then everybody's flights got messed up.
Yeah.
It was a great time. Here, I love this one too. This is Cole out checking out the pool.
Oh, a poolside.
Yeah. That was and it was funny because the night before the gala, actually the day before the gala, Cole woke up and he started throwing up. And he had thrown up, like if Cole goes more than 4 hours without a nap, something's not right, or he's working. So he got up, and we were in the hotel lobby, and he threw up, which he never does. And I'm like bugging out. And then he threw up in the elevator. He was literally throwing up all over the place. And I contacted a couple of the people, and like luckily the veterinarians came in, and the hero vet was there, and I had been talking to her at the sanctuary. So they give me some pointers to do, and don't give him anything, clear his gut. And he literally just threw up until like 5 o'clock that afternoon.
Oh wow!
And then he finally fell asleep for a while, and he woke up at like 10 o'clock. And friends of ours, my best friends, were flying in, and they had arrived. So I had to set the alarm and to go down and meet him in the lobby. And I was eating nacho chips because I think it was a Chipotle or something down the road.
They brought.
So so I brought I had some chips, and he loves nacho chips. So he woke up, and he's like, he wouldn't touch food, and for Cole to not touch food, something's not right. And like I was really, at this point I was really worried because he just constantly throwing up. So he woke up, and he looked at me and wanted a chip. So I'm like, I know they said not to give you anything, but here's a chip, dude. And he was like, I needed that. And then we went downstairs, and I walked in, and our friends got there. And when he saw our friends, he literally started hopping. And it was like Cole was back to himself again, still worried about him. So the next morning, not to be gross, we're walking, and like downtown where we were, there was like a little tiny area for dogs to use the bathroom behind Starbucks. And it was literally like 10 by 10, this tiny little area, but it's the only place he would go to the bathroom. So he like squats down, and I'm like, well, this is a good thing. Let's just hope that it's not,
the
worst version of it. And all of a sudden it's like, whoop, and it's a green toy, and then bloop, here's the other camera. It's a green toy, and bloop, and it's literally like the size of my fingers. It's one of those holy roller balls.
Oh, wow.
Apparently, he decided he was going to chew one like 2 weeks prior, and we had no idea that he did it. He doesn't do that.
Wow. Oh my God.
So like, he finally come to find out that's why he was throwing up, and he finally passed it. I'll never forget. He starts like bouncing because he's like, I feel so good now, and he's like, and like we were so relieved, and like he was back, and I was like, all right, he's good. My heart was so much better because, you know.
Well, Chris, I have to step away, but I'll let you guys finish the conversation. But before I left, I wanted to say what I needed. I was the person that always greeted the buses for years. You know, at school, I had bus duty every morning. So I was in the gym with all the kids. And so I was the first face they saw. But I certainly needed a Cole. That would have made all the difference for a lot of those kids. So. Just wanted to tell you that. So
thank you.
I'll have to sign off and let you two finish. It was wonderful to hear your story.
Thanks, Debbie. Good to see you. We'll talk later tonight. Yep.
Okay.
Uh-oh. Wait a minute. We need to go. Boop, boop, boop. There we go. Hey, there was another this. So moving forward, like you guys are. Tell me about this is a really cool story that I saw you guys do. Like with Lester Holt, tell me how that came about and how cool was that to be able to go on that particular platform and talk about, Cole and his story.
Right before COVID, we had taped on the Rachel Ray show, and they had found us, and that was like a surreal experience. And then right before the Hero Dog Awards, like CW Dogs of the Year did a whole thing on Cole, and they came down and they taped all his stuff. But then right after we got back from the Hero Dog Awards, I got an email, and it was from Lester Holt's team. Now, I'm not a news watcher. I kind of watch it only when I need to. But if I watch evening news, it's always been Lester Holt.
Right.
I like Dateline because I like Lester Holt's voice.
Dateline, yeah, that's where I know Lester Holt from. Dateline. Yeah.
So I got this email, and they're like, "Can you do a Zoom with me this afternoon?" And I'm like, oh my God. So logged on and did the Zoom, and I had no idea she was actually interviewing me at the time. And then she said, I'm going to be in touch tomorrow. We're going to send a car for you because they want to actually bring you to studio. And it was supposed to be for the kids edition of NBC Nightly News, which still is incredibly huge.
Right.
So they drive us up. They picked us up in front of my house, and they drove us 3 hours to 30 Rock. Then they took us straight up to Lester Holt's dressing room. He was there waiting for us, and we spent almost an hour with the man. And he is the most down to earth, chill guy. I remember him and Cole just sat on the couch, and I'm sitting there like a nervous wreck because I'm like, I don't try to let myself get starstruck, but I was like, I'm literally just conversing to you like a two guys having conversation. So different. So then we went on. He walks us to the set, and it was just him, myself, Cole, and one cameraman, and a couple other of his team of people and everything. And we just had a conversation on camera, and it was just the coolest experience. We gave him our Cole pin, and he said, I have a collection of these for things that mean a lot to me, so I'm going to put it with these pins that I receive. And we walked away. Then we thought it was going to be on the Saturday morning kids edition, and then it was right at the end of the school day. The following day, I guess they started the editing process, and the producer, Mary, called me, and she's like, I just want to let you know, you may want to set the DVR tonight because you're going on primetime, Lester. And I'm like, what? And she's like, yeah, they decided to put your segment in primetime. And I'm like, oh my God. And I'm like calling my family. My administration makes an all call on the intercom at the end of the day. Right. So, and I'll never forget, I took a screenshot of it. And when he was doing the introduction piece leading up to us, he's like, coming up now, inspiring America, a deaf pit bull changing the world. And I'm like, holy crap, that just happened, and it was just the coolest experience. And we were actually on NBC Nightly News in April this past year, with the new host, but it was still like so incredibly cool.
Yeah, that's very cool to get that story out to as many people that can hear it is very, very cool. So tell me what does the future hold for you guys? Like, what are you into now? What do you hope to move forward to, and where do you and Cole kind of go from here to keep expanding what you guys are doing?
So like I said earlier, we've expanded our team. But we're kind of, our foundation, our nonprofit is growing. The ultimate goal would be to do school presentations full time and to travel. We literally get offers all over the country every day. But I'm a full time teacher, and my students need me, and I balance my schedule with that. We're in the midst of our summer touring right now, so we visit special education camps and summer schools and programs and buildings and facilities all summer long. My schedule is more packed in the summer than it is in the rest of the school year, crazy enough. But we're standing steadfast to what we do and who we do it for, and we're trying to bring awareness, disability awareness, and acceptance. But we're also trying to bring breed awareness and acceptance as well, with some of the the nonsense that we have to deal with anti-pit-bull groups on the daily. But we're just sticking steadfast to what we do and for who we do it for. And we're just going to keep doing that because it's working. It's making a difference. We're just expanding the reach of what we're doing. And it was crazy because we were talking and I had a kid ask me, how many places have you visited? I'm like, an awful lot. And he said, have you ever done anything else in the world? And I said, wait a minute. And I started counting, and I've done interviews on every continent now except Antarctica. So, for a little deaf shelter dog from southern New Jersey to South America, Australia, Asia, Europe, like literally, it's crazy to think that that's what's happened for us, So that's super cool, and it's always surreal, and that's what I think makes it so much better, because it's so genuine. Because we take each moment as it comes, and it's surreal. Every moment leads to another special moment, and we're sticking steadfast to what we believe, who we believe in it for, and the way that we're going to try to leave our print in the world.
Right. That's very cool. I admire what you guys are doing. And, you talked about your time. There comes a time when you realize there's something different here. And it happened with us in the Ethan, but I didn't know what to do and what direction to go. And, that was very early on. And I saw what you guys are doing. And I thought, if we could make a difference in our little world, like they're making a difference in their world, then we've really done something. So, congratulations to everything that you guys are doing with Cole, and keep it up and just continue to make a difference in these young kids' lives, because like you said earlier, those are the ones that are going to grow and make an even bigger impact in the world.
Right. And the same thing for you guys. Like, when you make a difference for one person's life, it changes your life too.
Yeah.
And to know that, and it's like, keep being humble and stay focused and doing what you do, and it's so worth all the energy and all the time and the exhaustion, because you just realize that you're literally changing someone else's life.
Yeah.
And you don't do it for notoriety. You don't do it for any other reason other than it's making a difference. And we always say, our tagline is making a difference by being different. So that's where it's at, and that's where we can inspire others to do the same thing. Well, then great.
Yeah.
That's what we hope for.
And I think it's really cool. While Cole was in the therapy dog category, he came from a shelter, and we've had over the last few weeks, months, whatever, as we started this, so many like dogs from the shelter. Their owners come on and talk about different things, and so there are shelters that are struggling out there, and so when you look to add to your family and put it, and that's what you're doing when you're adopting a dog, is you're bringing another person into your family. Look to your shelters. There are some amazing dogs there, and what I think is one of the most cool things that I've heard about your story, Chris, is you walked out that first day and that guy said, why would you why would you take this dog that's broken? And you used that. It's like that one sentence has just inspired you and driven you to, you know what? I'm going to show you what kind of difference that can make. It's going to make a difference in all of these kids' lives. And that's just a tremendous, shout out to you.
Thank you. And it's so true. There's so many hidden gems. And if we can just bring that, like, I think with the social media presence that Cole has gotten over the last several years, the number of emails I get with people who are adopting dogs with disabilities, adopting deaf dogs specifically, all of a sudden, it's getting easier to adopt a dog like him, and we always try to explain to people, Cole is the way that Cole is. One, he was naturally just a very special dog, but we put the time in, we put the effort in, we put the work in for his training and to make him as bomb-proof as he is. But if we can just show people, like, if you don't need to go out and try to make them a therapy dog or do programs all over the place, but that dog can make your life a better life, and you're going to make their life better.
Right.
And that's the ultimate satisfaction. And you might find your heart dog at a shelter.
Right. And while dogs like there's a lot of dogs that are like want to go be on the go, and every time their owner's going to leave, they're ready to go. But Cole has gotten into a routine where, hey, he's going to school every day. Ethan is leaving with me every day. But these dogs that you could adopt from a shelter that are amazing dogs, people need to understand that you might leave and go to work or go to the store or you go to your family and do all these things because you have a little bit of this other life outside of what you got going on at home. But for that dog, you are their whole world. They get excited when you come home. They get excited just to make you happy. They get excited to do these things for you. And those dogs are right there at the shelter, and you can go and find those, and they're going to make your world a much happier, bigger place.
It's so true. And like, there's just so many hidden gems, and there's one out there for everybody. Just give it a chance, give it a try, and you're gonna see your life get better.
For sure. Before we get out of here, I do want to, and I wanted to do this earlier, and I skipped over it, but I want to, and I think him much better than I do, but I want to take a moment to talk about Jeffrey, the positively peaceful pit bull, and his owner, Michelle, who have done some tremendous work in what they were doing. And Jeffrey was, and I had reached out to Michelle, and I hope she'll come on because I'd love to talk about Jeffrey's story, because I think that I'm right. He was one of the first pit bulls to be like a Rally X champion, and they did so many wonderful things. And I didn't know if you had a few words that you could talk about Jeffrey a little bit.
Jeffrey and Michelle became friends of ours through social media, really. I found his page, and we kind of found our pages at the same time several years ago. And he was such an inspirational dog for us and like our therapy work, because he was one of the dogs that were breaking those barriers. There are pit bull therapy dog teams, but there's not a lot of us, and he has had to deal with some of the adversity that we've had to deal with. And he was just such a guiding light with the way that he did it. And really her motto was always been advocating by example. And that's the way that we have, because of them, that's the reason that we were so strongly believe in advocating and advocacy by showing the world what you are capable of. And it's all because of Michelle and Jeffrey. It's sometimes pro pit bull advocates are almost as crazy as the anti-pit bull advocates. And, you know, seeing the way that everything that they did was 100% positive 100% of the time. And just we've taken that from them, and we use that, and we just make it part of our lives too. To just I'm just going to show you what we're going to do and what we're capable of, and that's all because of Jeffrey and Michelle, and you know, an incredible team with incredible accomplishments of what they were able to do in that rally world. Like, that's just crazy. And to see him work was the cutest thing, you know, just the house at Bowen. He lived an incredibly long and meaningful life, and you know, we all can hope that for our hard dogs like Michelle. And you know, it's he was something that we looked up. He's a dog that we look up to, and
right.
we will continue to do so.
Right, and I'm hoping that she'll come on and we can learn a lot more about Jeffrey's story. But for Michelle, I hope she knows that his legacy lives on through so many other dogs, and he is certainly not forgotten, and did some wonderful things there. Before we go, thank you. I want to thank you so much for Chris for coming on. I love talking to you and hearing your story and what you guys are doing. Let everybody know who's not already following you. You guys have a tremendous amount of following, where they can find you.
If you could visit our website is coldtodefdog.com. Our social media is at coldtodefdog, except TikTok. TikTok's at Def Cold, but I've been bad about keeping up with TikTok.
I can't do TikTok.
You know, but it's crazy because like some of the TV shows have found us through our TikTok, which is crazy. So you know, but yeah, you can check us out and see the work that you know we're doing, and what you see is what you get. It's who we are, and that's what we're always gonna be. You know, so.
That's fabulous. Thank you so much, Chris, for coming on and talking to us about Cole. And, you know, love to catch up with you here in the near future.